Hi everybody, this is a story of two Harley Davidsons. This is my first video ever, so I might be prattling on a bit. But let me just explain. 2 years ago I had the good fortune to win a Harley Davidson, and I opted for a Fat Boy with the 114 engine, special paint, well, not special paint, but black metallic paint, and crash bars and a screen, because that's how I roll. And I vowed that excuse me, that I would do nothing to it. Brand new, out of the box, picked it up from the dealer, rode it around, and in the course of a year I've put maybe 2,000 miles on it, a little bit. And I noticed that it's where I live there are twisty country roads. So it's hard work, or I found it hard work. But I thought it was just the nature of the bike. So, as I said, it was brand new. Didn't want to touch it, left it entirely down to as it came out of the showroom, and also when it went in for its first service, just over 1,000 miles, I took the bike back, and not a problem. I wasn't going to fiddle with it. That was going to be down to the dealership. And then I was approached by somebody, nice chap, and still is a nice chap, who was looking for crash bar covers. Now, I make crash bar covers, the vinyl covers on crash bars that helps keep water off your feet in inclement weather. And we live in a country where it's inclement, period. So he was looking for a pair of crash bar covers for his bike, which was a Harley Davidson Street Bob with a 107 engine in it. And during the course of the conversations that we had, I realised that he wanted my bike, and he wanted to trade his trade his Street Bob for my Fat Boy, and he was going to give me a little bit of money. Separately, I thought about this, and I thought, well, it sounds a pretty good idea, because I wasn't getting on with a Fat Boy. Now, don't get me wrong, on the motorway, it's an absolute storm. Twisty country roads, not quite so. And because he had his heart set on it, and because I won the Fat Boy in a competition, so it didn't really stand me at any money, I could have taken the cash, which would have meant I'd have got about 14,000. But I decided, I like a Fat Boy, I'll take the Fat Boy. So that's what I did. But then along came this chap for crash bar covers, and eventually we decided that he didn't want crash bar covers. What he really wanted was my bike. And I was quite happy to do the trade of his bike plus some money, and it was okay. Don't have a problem with that. Rode the bike a couple of times locally, and it was fine. It was much more nimble than the Fat Boy. Higher bars, just a kind of a different feel to it. And so I thought, well, yeah, this is okay. Took it out on a 40-mile run, 40 miles there, 40 miles back, and it was fine. Thrashed it down the motorway, and it was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed the ride on the Fat Boy, on the motorway. In the country lanes, the Street Bob was completely different. Lovely, throwable machine, and I had no complaints. But then the following day, after this 80-mile round trip, I went down to our local town to do some shopping, and I noticed that an engine management light was on, and I couldn't work out why. And so I rode it slowly back home and parked it up and thought, I'll get round to doing this. Now, I wanted to do everything properly, so I ordered some Harley Davidson oil, which, as you will see, maybe you can't see, but it's there. Harley Davidson proper stuff. And I thought I'll get round to do that. Well, we've had a couple of incidents in the meantime. Let me just show you. One of them, I had an accident and completely screwed up my little finger. As you can see, it's pretty bloody useless. And that was as a result of me being clumsy. Tripped over a step, stood on a small dog and went arse over tit and caught the edge of a metal box on my way down, which ripped open 2 fingers, and I've been screwed for the last 3 months. However, fortunately, or unfortunately, coronavirus came, has come and is still here. And so there was no real opportunity to mix with other bikers using the street bob, nor was I able to ride a bike because of my fingers. I'm thinking that today might be my lucky day for going on the bike, because I think I've got some grip back and I can ignore this little finger, and hopefully I can get back on the road again and enjoy myself. Heaven forbid that I should enjoy myself. However, starting the bike up today, and it sat for 3 months and it fired up first time, which is lovely. Didn't really expect anything less than that, but it was very satisfying that it was going to start up. And then I remembered that I hadn't checked the oil, and I noticed that even within a couple of minutes of starting the bike, it was very hot. Now, to go back a little bit, when the engine warning light came on, or the engine management light came on, I tried to work out what might be wrong with the bike when I parked it up. I checked everything, all the lights, the indicators, it started, it stopped. Everything appeared to be okay until I checked the oil. Now again, this is a bike that has done about 1,100 miles, I think, and it's had its first service not that long ago, probably 100 miles, if that. I've got some paperwork somewhere and I'll try and confirm this. But it was done by the dealership, a different dealer than the one who supplied me with my Fat Boy, but a Harley Davidson dealer all the same. And I checked the oil, and I'll try and show you in a minute, but I checked the oil on the dipstick, and to my horror, 3 months ago when I parked this bike up, the oil was not registering on the dipstick. Now I'm going to do it again, because I'm all ready now to try and resolve this issue. But let me just I'm not sure how I can turn this camera around, but I'll physically turn it around, and then you can see. So the dipstick is down here, and so, just in case I burn myself. Okay. So this is straight out the engine, and it has run. So I'm just gonna wipe that. Hold on. Sorry about the bigging of the roof. Okay, one dipstick here, white tip of oil, and I'm just going to pop it back in the hole and draw it out, and you may see where the oil is. It's barely at the bottom of the dipstick. So I'm just going to fill that up and get it back to what it should be. Now, why am I doing this video? Because I think it raised 2 things with me. One is not necessarily to rely on the dealership for doing everything correct. Because when speaking to the chap that I got this bike from, and let me just pan around and show you, which is, which is that one. And this is a 2019, September, October time, I think, 2019 107 Street Bob. My bike was a 2018 114 Fat Boy. Don't have a picture that I can show you, but when I find one, I'll try and splice it in. And I think what I wanted to say was, when I spoke to this other lad who swapped the bikes, I asked him how he was getting on, and he said, I checked the tyre pressure on the Fat Boy, and they were 20 psi instead of about 30 whatever PSI, which means they were down obviously by about a third. And he said it's a completely different bike. And that kind of raised the issue with me as to not necessarily relying on dealerships to do everything properly, because there is a responsibility of the rider to make sure that things are right, and I didn't. I assumed, and I left it because I assumed that the dealership knew what they were doing and everything would be okay. So my Fat Boy was PDI'd when I picked it up, and it also had its first service and had done probably about 1,000 miles post first service when I did the exchange. So the tyre pressures were soft, and may have been soft all the time, which may mean that was why it's so bloody difficult to thrash it round country lanes, because it just wouldn't go. It wanted to go into the hedge, and if you rolled off the throttle halfway around a bend, it wanted to go in a straight line. So I haven't ridden the bike, I haven't seen this lad since because we've got the coronavirus, but I thought it was interesting that a simple thing like tyre pressures, which I should have known about and should have done something about, but didn't because I relied on the dealership, he tweaked that and everything was fine. Now coming back to this oil thing in this street bob, then I relied on the dealership to have done their servicing properly, as did the previous owner. No questions asked. He never mentioned anything to me about engine management lights coming on, and probably they never did. But it did for me, and it made me want to check, and I came down to the fact that it is probably the fact that there's no oil in it. Now, if you look at the dipstick, it's probably going to take me, I would think, at least half a litre, possibly more. Can't remember how much the engine takes altogether, but it's definitely low on oil, and I'm hoping that remedying that is going to knock this engine management light off. And if it does, I'll tell you, and if it doesn't, I'll tell you. But again, it just highlights the fact that we shouldn't necessarily take things for granted, even though you get kind of overwhelmed with the shiny stuff and, oh, it's brand new and spotless and you're the first to ride it. Don't rely on that. Rely on your own instincts or your own discipline to check the things which you might take for granted because they might be wrong. And on that note, I'm going to fiddle with the oil and take it for a run in the sunshine and stay safe. Hope you're enjoying the sunshine and staying out of this coronavirus. But if you've got a motorbike, I hope you're thrashing the arse off it and having a really wonderful time. Okay, see you on another occasion.